Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Ustazah Hajah Makia and everyone. I am Zakiyah binti Suhaile.
My name is NURUL NADIAH binti SAIFUL AMIRUDIN.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Siti Zakirah binti Muhammad Noor.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is AFRINA binti ARSHAD.
My name is NURUSSAADAH binti MUHTARUDDin, and we will be discussing about Halal Malaysian Law 2.
Okay, I will explain the introduction part. So for the first point is the Malaysian halal law developed considerably with the country's developing halal industry. In Malaysia, the essential halal rules are administered under the Trade Description Act 2011. Other than that, we also have other regulations such as Food Act 1983 and Drug Act, and also many more regulations that will be explained later. Secondly, several of halal standard and procedure introduced in Malaysia to help the industry to comply with the guidelines. For example, of the procedure which are manual procedure of halal certification, Malaysia MS 1500 2009 halal food production, preparation, handling and storage, and many other procedures. The last point for our introduction is many agencies has been involved in evaluating the halal certification of food products and consumable in Malaysia, such as JAKIM, KPDN-KK, and also HDC. That's all for introduction. Now we move on to the next slide.
The Malaysian food safety system is known for its complexity and diversity, with various authorities tasked with guaranteeing food safety at various stages of the food chain. From production to consumption, the food might expose to hazards. So, Food Act 1983 is a law and demand of the food system program that protects the public against health dangers and food fraud in the preparation, sale, and consumption of food. There are many ministries and agencies are involved in the process, since food safety must be sustained from manufacturing to consumption, such as the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Agriculture, and local governments. Next, what is food? Okay, according to the Malaysian Food Act 1983, food is defined to include every ethical manufacture, sold or represented for use as food or drink for human consumption, or which enters into or is used in the composition, preparation, preservation of any food or drink, and include confectionery, chewing substances. According to Section 13, Number 1 of the Food Act 1983, specifies that any person who prepares or sells any food that has in or open it any substance which is poisonous, harmful, or otherwise injurious to health commits an offence. This provision expressly states that food manufacturers have a responsibility to produce food that is free of harmful ingredients. When deciding whether or not a food is harmful to one's health, Section 13, Number 2 states that regard shall be had not only to the probable effect of that food on the health of a person consuming it, but also to the probable cumulative effect of a person consuming the food in ordinary quantities. Besides, the penalty imposed is a fine of not more than Rm100,000 or a term of imprisonment of not more than 10 years or both.
Next, let me move to Advertised Privatization Act 1993. It was enacted to prescribe the licensing requirement for any person who intend to operate an advertise and the general duties of the operator of the advertise. It also intended to facilitate the privatization of advertise and matters connected therewith. The date of the publication in the Gazette is on 16 September 1993. Among the rules in this act to regulate the safe use of advertise and premises under the control of a licensed operator. Then for the Advertised Privatization Act 1993, they have arrangement of section. It is divided into 5 parts. For the first part is preliminary. For the second part is license to operate, advertise, suspension and revocation of license. The minister is empowered to grant a license to to a person wishing to operate an abattoir. In the suspension of revocation of the license will occur if the licensee violates the rule sets. The third part is duties of a license operator. The license operator should submit the Director General a report on its operation and the balance sheets of the profit and loss account. The fourth part is charges and fees. And the last part is rules, general penalty, offence by body corporate and conduct of the prosecution. For the rules that can be done by the minister in benefiting the operator is to provide for the cleanliness of the slaughterhouse and premises. Then the amount for the general penalty for committing an offence is to pay RM50,000 or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years or both. For the conduct of prosecution will be made by Director General or any authorised officer or servant of the government. More than that is about Controlled Drugs and Cosmetic Regulation 1984. This regulation relates to the control of safety, quality and claim benefit of cosmetic with the ultimate aim of protecting and promoting public health. Okay, then for the Controlled Drugs and Cosmetic Regulation 1984, there are 4 parts in arrangement of regulations. For the first part is preliminary. Next, the second part is about the Drug Control Authority. Among the authoritative bodies in this law is the Director General of Health, the Director of Pharmaceutical Service, and the Director of the National Pharmaceutical Control Bureau, and 8 other members to be appointed by the Minister. The third part is registration and licensing. A person is prohibited when wishing to manufacture, sell, supply, import, own, and administer unless the product is registered and such a person holds the appropriate license required and issued under this regulation. There are 4 types of licenses subject to this rule. The first is a manufacturer's license, which allows the licensee to manufacture a registered product. The second is wholesaler's license for someone to sell wholesale. The third is a clinical trial import license that allows a licensee to import products for clinical purpose. And the last is an import license, which allows a person to import and sell product wholesale. And the last part is manufacture of registered product or notified cosmetic. The licensed manufacturer shall ensure that the workers hired own the necessary qualifications. Then the equipment used always be maintained, and while manufacturing, the product must follow other prescribed requirements. That's all from my part.
I will be talking about Lembaga Kemajuan Tenaga Negara Dissolution 1983 Veterinary Services Department. Lembaga Kemajuan Tenaga Negara Dissolution Act 1983 is an act to repeal the Lembaga Kemajuan Perusahaan Haiwan Negara Act 1972 Act 873 to dissolve the Lembaga Kemajuan Tenaga Negara established under the act, to transfer all its properties to the government and to provide for other matters connected therewith. These related acts are very important for people whose business related with halal in the animal industry and culture. There are regulations in this act that must be obeyed by all parties concerned. These regulations are related to slaughtering, halal way, selling of halal meat, and so on. By knowing about this regulation, many issues can be resolved by local authority, or consumers can be easily informed due to its clarity. Department of Veterinary Services is one of the departments under the Act that cover the issue regarding import and export, disease eradication, livestock, commodities, economic markets, Department of Veterinary Services of Malaysia DVS certification schemes, enforcement, veterinary health, abattoirs and animal welfare. DVS is the only organisation responsible for disease control, animal welfare and the livestock industry in the country. Import and export. There are procedures, protocol, SOP that have been issued by DVS, included the charge fee. Disease eradication. They provide disease eradication programs, a list of drug and vaccine that can be used on animals, shift methods for poultry and pigs, as well as a complete registration procedure for a certified veterinarian VB. Livestock commodities. It has 4 sections under it: ruminant section, non-ruminant section, expansion section, and livestock basic industry section. Enforcement. Regarding Federal Veterinary Law, prevention of cruelty to animals and complaints of veterinary law offences. Animal welfare refers to the condition of the animal, while the treatment received by animals is covered in other terms such as animal care, animal management, and also human treatment. As for the abattoir, it talks about the Code of Veterinary Practice Pig Abattoir and Code of Veterinary Practice Ruminant Abattoir, application for a private license for the abattoir, and SOP for sacrifice worship. Commodity market. states about commodity prices in Malaysia from the beginning of the year to the latest price, as well as price comparison between last year and now. Department of Veterinary Services of Malaysia (DVS) certification schemes is divided into two parts: Veterinary Health Mark (VHM) and Good Veterinary Hygiene Practice (GVHP), which tells about the requirement, certification procedures, monitoring and enforcement, certificate validity period, and service charge rates and list of premises.
Okay, local authority bylaws. In this topic, I will briefly explain about the definition, also the types and the differences between them. Okay, in short, local government is responsible for a range of vital services for people and businesses in defined areas. So among them are well-known functions such as social care, business, schools, housing and planning, and waste collection, also many more. Okay. So in the next slide, I will explain about the definition. Local authorities bylaws, also known as local government, they are obligated to carry out certain obligations in a specific order. There are two types of local authorities under the Local Government Act 1976, which under Act 171, which is municipal councils and district councils. Meanwhile, bylaws bring a means, which is a rule, control the way of an obligation drawing. Is the different. Next is the municipal councils and district councils. We are see the differences between them. Okay, the municipal councils is more to urban planning, which serve more urbanist area that collect bigger revenue than district councils. This focus to regulation of land use and construction of buildings, planning for economic and social development, also to water supply for domestic, industrial, and commercial purpose. For example, Chakim, who are responsible regarding to get Halal certification compliance, including the procedure of logistics, manual procedure of slaughterhouse, and many more. Also, for example, the Shabas, that are in charge in water supply for Selangor. Others regards to district councils, which is serve more rural area, which is focus more to the quarter residents, which have a number less than 100,000, and the annual income as less more than 5 million ringgit, which is covers a smaller area and provides more local services. And each district council responsible to cover a smaller area and provides more local services, including council housing, planning, local planning, recycling and refuse collection, and also leisure facilities. Okay, for example, the recycling and refuse collection, district councils provide recycling various colors such as blue, orange, and chocolate, with each color have different meaning and purpose. Okay, for blue, it was for paper. Meanwhile, the orange is for aluminium and steel, tin, and plastic. And the last one is chocolate, which is for glass. And this is a good opportunities for local people to save the earth environment and learn how to reuse and recycle.
Now we have come to our last part of our slide, which is conclusion. So for the conclusion, firstly, with the establishment of acts and other regulations that have certain function and roles in setting halal law in Malaysia. For example, this act and regulation can ensure the halal status given to the company and products meet all standard halal requirements in Malaysia to qualify them for halal certification. Lastly, with the establishment of act and regulation in halal laws can give confidence to consumer and Muslim regarding the legitimacy of halal products in Malaysia. That's all for our slide presentation today. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.